Thank you, Kieran. I think you've done a better job than I could have done introducing myself, so I'm very impressed. Thank you. And that saves me from having to introduce myself as well. But yeah, as you know, my name is Hazel, and I actually don't have a tech background. And so before this, all I did was tinkle on the side. I love building different things. But until I've met people like Kieran, people like James, people like Millie, who's sitting somewhere at the back that you've heard from just now, that I realized that actually all these tinkering that I'm doing on the side can actually be converted into an actual business that I can monetize and sell. So that's what I did. I started building different things, just like Millie, 2 of which I actually ended up exiting and sold. And it was through this process that I realized one really important thing, which is building, which I thought was quite complicated as a non-technical person, was actually the really fun and easy part. Because when it comes to having to get a customer to buy the thing that you have just built, that's when the real challenge becomes. So I did what any self-respecting entrepreneur would do. I basically started copying other people. I looked up successful indie makers and figured out what they've done to get to where they are. I was a massive nerd. I went through hundreds of thousands of their tweets, sift through them. I didn't read them, all of them, obviously, thanks to Twitter, advanced search. But yeah, so I went through their tweets, went through their interviews to figure out, how did they write their first launch tweet? How long did it take for them to get their first customer? What is it that they say? How did they structure landing pages? All the kind of stuff. Lots and lots of research. And then I thought to myself, hey, I'm doing all this work anyway. I might as well convert that into a product and repurpose that into a product. So that's how I came to create juicyideas.co. And it's essentially a newsletter that I share all the insights that I've learned from basically stalking these entrepreneurs and package them into playbooks that you can essentially copy. So I've included an AI-generated photo of myself today, much more photogenic version of me that looked nothing like me. But I thought if there is one conference that I can get away with doing that, it would be this one. So I'm going for it. Yeah, feel free to check it out. It's free. So during my journey of writing Juicy Ideas, I've looked at loads of entrepreneurs. These are some of them. You've got Peter Levels. Some of these you may have recognized or seen. You've got Tim, you've got Danny. At the bottom here in blue, you've got Mark, who absolutely blew up in the last couple of months or so. And that article about him did incredibly well because everyone wants to know how he did it. But it was through this process of uncovering what they've done that I started to realize one really important thing, which is indie makers are some of the best marketers out there. Now, they may not recognize that in themselves. They certainly wouldn't call themselves marketers. They would probably, like many of you, identify as builders, first and foremost, founders, bootstrap entrepreneurs, solo entrepreneurs, and somewhere right at the bottom of that list, marketing. So they have to do it, but they are. They may not be good at everything, but they're decent enough at least 1 or 2 growth strategies or social channels that got them to where they are today, running their sort of $1 million empire. And so can you. Be good at marketing. And actually, looking at this slide now, I should really say, so must you, because looking at all of them, I can't actually name one that isn't good at marketing, or at least in 1 or 2 ways. So it's not everything. So if you are thinking of building your product and converting that into a business that you can live off, that is generating income for you, you must learn marketing. You must get into it. And today, I'll be sharing 7 of my favorite marketing ideas or tactics that I've learned from basically looking at what those successful indie entrepreneurs have done. So what I'm going to do now is potentially let's have a show of hands. How many of you are in the ideation phase of your business? So are you trying to come up with an idea of a product to build? Okay, we've got a few. Oh, quite a few. How many of you are already have an idea and you're now working on building it or growing, marketing it? Okay, actually quite a good mix. So these 7 ideas, the first 3 are going to be around ideation. How can you come up with a strong idea that maximize your chances of success? They're all marketing related, but there are 3 for the ideation phase. And the next 4 are going to be around growth. So you have an idea, you have a product, and now you want to build it and grow it. What are some of the things and tactics that I guess you can apply if you get into difficulty or challenges when it comes to growth? We're going to start with the first one. So this is marketing starts from the idea and not after the idea. And I think this is a very important one. So what most people do when they start a business, it goes like this. So you come up with an idea, great idea, let's build that. You do a bit of research and go, yes, let's do that. So you spend lots of time building it, all right? So you sit down, you code everything together, or NoCode, patch everything together, and then you launch it. And then you go, well, there's no customers. What do I have to do? Now I've got to market it. So here, that's a conventional approach. What some of the most successful entrepreneurs do is that they actually flip the script around. So I want to invite you to do the same, which is you start from marketing, thinking about how you might market the idea, how you can reach out to your target audience, where do they hang out, how you want to speak to them, what kind of phrases you want to talk about to get them to come to your website, how you would position your idea, and then decide whether that's an idea that it's worth pursuing. If that feels too hard at the start, before you even start, then maybe you might want to consider basically ditching the idea and coming up with a different one. So that's the first one. I thought I would show you an example. So this is by Danny Postma. Some of you would recognize his face, or his avatar, I guess. This tweet is part of a series of tweet in the thread, where he basically shares his entire blueprint on how he came up with ideas and how he marketed them, how he built and grew them. But I thought this one was particularly insightful about how he approached things, which is you build your product around the keyword. So you give the user what they want, you optimize for your main keyword, you build as many sub-pages as possible, you offer a free and a paid option, and then he goes on to describe exactly how he did it in detail. But I want you to focus your attention on, I guess, the first line, which is you build your product around the keyword. And in this case, keyword means search terms like Google keywords. I want you to think about how you got here this morning, actually. So what you might have done, if you were like me, is you Googled a venue, and then you figure out how to get here. So that was one search / one keyword that you've done. Maybe what you're doing now is it's nearly lunchtime. You might be Googling cafes around this venue, like where to get to. And then you might have also Googled the speakers and figure out what they've done, who they are. So each one of those searches that you have done represents a keyword. And each keyword represents a potential problem that you can solve. The more people are searching for that keyword, the better that opportunity is for you and I, as entrepreneurs, to go and solve that problem. There are lots of tools that you can use out there. I won't mention them all. Ahrefs, SEMrush, all that kind of stuff that can help you do your keyword research. So what you would want to do here is you identify a keyword, as Minnie said, keyword with high search volumes, low competition. And if you marry the two, you get a really good underserved market that you might be able to build something around. Just to be clear, this idea is not new. It's been used by the blogging community for years and years and years. What we're doing here is to steal the same framework, but instead of building an article to solve that problem, we identify the ones that are best solved by a tool that we build with NoCode. With that, what you do is essentially you flip the script around. So you start by thinking about marketing, how you might market, what kind of keywords you might target, and then you move backwards to figure out whether that idea is worth you pursuing. So exactly the framework that Danny Postma uses. This approach is also really helpful if you already have a website. And for those of you who are already building and growing, you could use the same approach to look for keywords that are underserved. And what you would do in this case is to see how you might reposition or rephrase your website or your product to better serve the demand that users are telling you that they want. So maybe you might be able to reposition it to improve your product market fit. So start by marketing. Number 2, and this is a question that I get quite a lot from people in writing juicy ideas, which is, should I build B2B or should I build B2C? This is a perpetual debate. There's a lot of heated conversations, I guess, on Twitter going on about this. If you put that into a continuum, so you have your consumer business on the one end, so these are your Airbnb, marketplaces, food app, travel apps, all that kind of stuff. And then over here, you've got essentially your enterprise CRM softwares, so on this end. So it's a continuum. Many businesses fit somewhere in the middle. What I've observed, and this is purely an observation, I don't have data to back this up, is that most people, when they first start a business, they start over there. Because it's a market you understand inherently, it's much easier to tell people, it's much more exciting to work on. So most people, particularly no-coders, will start on this end of the market. But sooner or later, many people realize that there's a problem with this end of the market in that it is actually much more expensive and harder than you think to get customers. So it's fun and easy to build, but when it comes to marketing, it's really, really, really hard. And a lot of consumers are really, really cheap. So if you build an app that you charge people for and it's not free, everybody goes, this is too much. Why are you charging 99p for this thing? It should be free. You get a lot of these kind of comments. So sooner or later, many, many bootstrap entrepreneurs eventually sort of migrate towards this end of the spectrum and to start focus more on, I guess, people who have money and have an intention to grow their business. Now, if you're over there, don't despair. You don't necessarily have to. There are reasons why you may not want to build a B2B business. Potentially it's more sales-led, and you don't want to do sales, for example. I want to introduce you to a third term that's become very popular recently, and this is called prosumers. So prosumers are sort of your freelancers, your agency owners, your on the SME spectrum of businesses. They sit somewhere on this continuum in the middle. And for the most part, they behave like consumers. So they think like consumers, they buy like consumers, they have the same sort of level of customer service expectations like consumers, but with 2 distinctions. The first one being they're generally more niche. So and they're more of a problem expert. They're more problem aware about what kind of problems that they face in their businesses, what specific problem that they want to be solved. And the more specific they are, the better it is for you to solve that. And number 2, they're more likely, and I say more likely, not that they definitely would, spend more likely to spend to solve their problems. So as you can see over here, many indie makers or bootstrap entrepreneurs sort of tend to move towards this direction of the market when they grow. So I want to point out, like Peter Levels, the guy in his boxer shorts over there, what a flex. But he's the founder of Nomad List, and it's a website that basically ranks many countries in the world by how livable it is. And then it's got things like weather conditions, internet connectivity, travel, safety, all the kind of stuff, and helps people figure out where they might want to move to live and to work. Obviously, he could have targeted the entire world, the entire working population with that Nomad List, but he chose to target the prosumers market, which are the nomads, the freelancers, the entrepreneurs, because it's just a much more marketable segment of market. So if you haven't got an idea, I strongly encourage you to think where you are on this spectrum. If you're open to, maybe start over here. If you really want to go on the consumer end, maybe think about prosumers market. So we've looked at starting from marketing, moving towards your idea. We've also looked at the idea that maybe you should start from the business end of the market. Number 3, again, this is still on ideation, which is boring. Boring can be good. So this one is slightly more controversial, and there are people building all kinds of different stuff, from very sexy, exciting new things to something incredibly boring in very, very competitive market. But there is a growing movement of people, entrepreneurs, that are very vocal about encouraging people to think boring, to think about existing red ocean market and joining those market. And I think it stems from one principle in that many of us here are building on our own. We are all sort of solo or dualpreneurs. We don't have a lot of budget. So unlike VC-funded companies, we don't have a lot of runway. We need the idea to start generating income as quickly as we can. So if that is you, so maybe consider going into the boring business, because being the first in market and having to educate the market is incredibly expensive. So let the VC-funded startups do the education of the market, spend lots of marketing, and maybe you come in second, third, fourth, 10th, whatever it might be. This idea comes from Tim, who runs Pally, which is a social media scheduling tool. So social media scheduling is not new. It's been around for decades when he got into it, but he somehow managed to find a way to get into it and manage to carve out a niche for himself. Later on, I'm going to share with you some ideas on how you might compete with incumbents, big incumbents in the market. But for now, just remember that you don't have to start a brand new idea that no one has ever thought of. Boring can be good because it's got proven market, proven demand, basically. So now we've gone through 3 things to think about when you are coming up with ideas. Next, we're going to look at if you already have an idea, but you're struggling to grow it, what might you be able to do to grow your business? So the first one, I think, is decide what you're willing to invest in order for you to grow. This one is more of a expectations, to help you set your expectations, in that growth is actually fairly expensive. It's going to cost you, whether in time or in money. So, and for us, I guess most bootstrap entrepreneurs here, you're probably going to be leaning towards this time, investing time into your business. And you've got to make that mental leap and mental decision that it is going to cost you time as you learn how to use a different platform. And one of the mistakes that I've seen entrepreneurs do when they first start is that they expect that they're going to get results fairly quickly launching it. And then they say, well, okay, I'm going to build my no-code tools using free or cheap platforms. And then I'm going to go onto Twitter or on Instagram and then use all the free organic social media tools to grow my platform because they are free. But what they don't realize is that getting good at social media is going to take time. You're going to have to think about copywriting. How do you write a good hook? How do you create a very engaging first 5 seconds of your Instagram shorts or YouTube shorts? How to get people to move off the platform and come onto your landing page, and then how do you convert people? There's so many different skills that you've got to stack on top of each other to get your business off the ground. So here is just trying to get you to reset your expectations that it is going to take you an investment, be it time or money. You might be able to pay somebody to help you do things faster, but it's going to cost you. And if you don't buy into this idea that it's going to take you, it's going to take you a while to get there. What might happen is that you might give up on your idea prematurely because things aren't working. So you go, well, it's not working, so this is a bad idea. So it might be that the idea is good, but you're just not good yet at marketing it. So that's just the first one, which is resetting your expectations that it's going to take you a bit of investments on your part. So now the next one is all about if you are at the stage where you have an idea and you're working on it, and then people are coming to your website, so you are engaged, you are able to attract people to your product and your tool, but somehow it's not converting into sales. So you're struggling to monetize your product. In that case, I would invite you to think about your funnel. And funnels are your friend. So for those of you who aren't familiar with this term, I'm just going to give a quick 30 seconds introduction as to what a funnel is. So a funnel is a marketing term that basically describes how people come to buy from you. So you've got a top of funnel, which is people who have never heard about you before, and they come across you for the first time in their lives. They heard about you or your product. To the middle of the funnel, and then to the bottom of the funnel, where people are now ready to become your customers. They bought from you. They're now advocates of your product, and they're sharing it, referring all their friends to it. So that's a quick overview as to what a funnel is. It's a marketing term. And here I'm showing you a quick example of a really good illustration of a funnel that I've seen in the bootstrap/indie world, and they're called MakerBox. It's run by a couple, Sweater Bay and Dan. I've written about them before on Juicy Ideas, and I've pieced together their funnel over here. Now, the exact shape of this funnel, I don't want you to worry about it because your product and your idea is going to look different to this. But what I want to do is to draw your attention to the top over there, which is free tools. So what they've done really interestingly is they built a lot of different products with Bubble, and none of that products are charged, so they're not monetizing any of those things. What I do here is that the sole purpose of those products are over there, right at the top of the funnel, to attract people to their ecosystem of products, and hopefully over time push people down the funnel to the bottom, where they eventually buy something from them, whether it's a paid course or digital products, whatever that might be, or a strategy call. So the sole purpose of their tool that they've built on Bubble or NoCode apps is really just to get people introduced into their business as a top of funnel mechanism. So if you're struggling with monetizing your product, think about whether your product should be a standalone proposition, or could it be that it might be better suited as a top-of-funnel mechanism to get people into your ecosystem? The answer might be yes, or it might be no. It might be that your tool, you think, yeah, that is a valuable tool as a standalone thing. It should sit at the bottom of the funnel. And that's fine. And maybe in those instances, you might want to think about expanding your top-of-funnel and get a different way to get people into your business and then eventually sort of monetize them. So if you're struggling with monetization, despite having lots of people coming onto your website, think about your funnel and how it fits in the ecosystem, in your own ecosystem of products. Number 6, it's okay to compete on price. So I just wanted to be here to give you permission that it's okay. It's okay to be cheaper or to be different than your competitors when it comes to pricing. Because the conventional business school advice is never compete on price. It's a race to the bottom. You know, that's like the conventional wisdom. But here I just want to say that it's okay. And in fact, I actually have noticed a trend on more and more people adopting this approach when they first got started, for 2 reasons, really. One is that it gets your foot in the door and starts a conversation with your customers early on. And the other one, really, is one of the things that people don't talk about enough, is to get you momentum. Because I think most of the time when ideas eventually die, isn't because the idea necessarily isn't good enough or there isn't a market for it, but it's just that the founders did not feel that they have momentum right from the get-go. And then I thought, wow, it's not worth doing. It's too much work. It's too much hassle. No one likes it anyway. I'm going to give up on it. So it's okay to compete on price, to get people in through the door and to get you feeling confident in your product and your idea. And there's a couple of ways you could do that. So the first one is, so let's say you are building a SaaS product and people are charging £20 a month for that. I mean, maybe you might say, you may not necessarily have to go, I'm going to be £10. So I'm going to undercut my competitor and get into the market that way. What you could do instead, and we're seeing actually a lot of successful indie makers going this direction, is that we're not going to adopt their pricing model at all. We're actually going to charge a one-off access fee to get people a lifetime access to my software. So for £99, you get to use my tool for free and for life. So a lot of people are going that direction, including Mark, who blew up 6 months ago. That's the predominant pricing approach that he's taken. So that really just gets you in through the door. You don't have to adopt that approach for life. Obviously, you can change it. It could be a launch offer. But the point here is that you can. And it works the other way around as well, in that if you have a course and people, or a digital product, whatever that might be, and people are charging £200 for that course, you might say, no, I'm not going to do that. £20 a month subscription model, you get access to my membership, and then you can watch the course for free. Again, it's, so it works both ways, and it doesn't have to be permanent. It's just a mechanism to get you some momentum. If nothing is working, try this, get some momentum going to keep yourself in the game. And lastly, if nothing is working whatsoever, you've tried this, you've tried pricing, you've tried lowering, you've tried social media, you've tried everything, and it's still not working, you would have come across this phrase from many, many bootstrap entrepreneurs where they say, you just got to try different things. You just got to build again, try something else. Throw lots of things at the wall and see what sticks. You may have come across this phrase before. But today I'm going to improve on this saying. Throw lots of things at the wall, but in one corner of the wall only. So the problem with throwing lots of things at the wall is that if you're trying to build a travel app, and then a food app, and then a CRM software, is that you keep having to start from zero. So you're building up all this knowledge about the market that you're going into, but then every time you start new, you're starting from the bottom again. You know nothing about the market, you have to start afresh. So throw lots of things at the wall, but in one corner of the wall only. And this is an approach that I've sort of taken from Danny Postma, who runs an AI photography product studio. And in one of the interviews he did, he said, my mission is to build 100 AI photography-related business in the next 10 years. So he's continuously building and innovating and coming up with new ideas, but in the same theme. So you've got two options here. One, you can pick a target audience, somebody you would like to serve, and then just build lots of different ideas and products to solve problems for this one target audience that you know really, really well. Or the second approach is you take a problem and then you just build lots of solutions around it and just keep trying. So if you are doing, if you remember the keyword research method right from the start, and you identify a problem that you want to be solved, at that point, you don't know what the solution is yet. So you build one, and then you build another one, and another one. So just keep building around the same problem. Eventually, you're going to find out what people want to buy. So throw lots of things at the wall, but if you can, in one corner of the wall only. And that's it. So that's the seven of the ideas that I found from the best entrepreneurs that I've sort of been following online. And that is me. So if you want to get connected, I am at by Hazel Lim. That's my handle on Twitter and on LinkedIn. You can find me, get connected, please, reach out. And if you want to know, if you're in the ideation phase, you want to learn a lot more about having a systematic approach to come up with demand-driven ideas where there is a proven market, proven demand. I've got a tutorial on that. You can check it out if you want. It's makewhattheywant.com. Yeah, feel free to check out. But thank you.
Cheers. Thank you very much, Hazel. I definitely encourage anybody who has questions to ask. If you have a burning one, we've got time for like one or so right now. Anybody in the audience? Of course. Yeah, one question here.
With new ideas, it's easy to... Thanks. Hello. Thanks for the talk, by the way. Really good. How do you know when to stop with a new idea? Like, what have you learned from... Because you can keep going with an idea that's never going to work for 10 years, but how do you know when to stop?
Yeah, it's a difficult one because I think most people stop when they run out of momentum. And that was one of the reasons I've included the pricing one in that. If you've tried everything, try try making a really irresistible offer that everybody go, hey, this is crazy. This is insanely good value. Try that. So if that, that's just to get you some momentum, get you going. If that doesn't work, then, maybe think about something else. But also, the keyword research one is another great method. So if you tried everything, go back to your keyword research tools and see whether there is actually a market for it. If that's telling you no, then maybe consider something else. But generally, yeah, it's usually when you sort of run out of momentum that most people stop, which is why throwing different things at a wall, like in one sort of target audience or one problem, is actually really helpful, because maybe you build the next one, build on your idea, pivot it slightly differently, reposition it, try something different in the same market. And maybe once you've done 7 or 8, you get a better sense of the geography. And maybe the first idea was actually the better one. It's just you have to work on marketing. So maybe try different things, but in one segment, and then it just gets you a better sense of the geography, and then you know whether it's worth pursuing. Hopefully that's helpful.